Okay, so here we are. Good evening, everyone. We are here, and I just want to welcome you, each of you who's here with me, and anyone who's listening. We are doing a virtual panel discussion, and this is part 2. So if you haven't seen part 1, please go back and have a look at that and a listen. But just to orient you, I'm Stephanie Vanderlucht. I'm representing Kinship Plot. This is an emerging nonprofit organization rooted in Charlotte, but we're connected all over the world. And I am joined here with Kim and with Shahida. And I will let them each introduce themselves a little bit more fully in a few minutes. But let me just say that what prompted this conversation, these conversations, because they're growing in number, which I love, is that we're here as part of a week started by the Christian Community Development Association called Locked in Solidarity. And this is a national awareness and action week focused on ending mass incarceration. You heard that right. Ending mass incarceration. So this week uplifts the stories of people who are directly impacted and the voices, and as well as just learning about the greater impact that this has across our communities, our local communities. It's to pray, it's to engage public sector individuals, people who have the power and the position to actually enact some change. But of course, we can all enact some change. That's why we are locked in solidarity, because we talked about this last time, that solidarity is just simply each one of us taking this with us wherever we go, okay? Taking this with us, whatever influence we have. As a minister, I've been in this world. That's how I know some of you, a minister, social worker. I care immensely about this. Many of my friends are directly impacted, and I care about Charlotte, and I care about our communities, and I care about kinship, which is this practice and concept. As a Christian, as a person of Christian faith, I believe that God is relationship and is calling us to be connected and reconciled and address the ways that we are estranging and separating ourselves from each other. Okay. So that's what really motivates me and us at Kinship Plot. So I'm very motivated, as we all are, to attend to this reality and impact of mass incarceration in our country, how it impacts our families, our communities, individual people, my neighbors. And so there's so many places we could go, and so many entry points. But I'm going to pause there, and I want to invite Kim and Shahida to introduce themselves, however you'd like to, whatever you'd like to say, and say something briefly, if you would, about why is this important to you? Why is this whole conversation? Shahida, can I ask you if you'd go first?
Yes.
Okay.
So my name is Shahida Martin. I am a current incarcerated individual. I have thus far been incarcerated 16 years and 1 month, and I have 7 months left to go. This conversation is important to me because I see reincarceration around me everywhere I look, in the newspapers, in the ladies who have left before me, men that I know out in the community. And I'm going to focus on the faith community. So what I see when it comes to the Christian faith community, not even assisting people who have been incarcerated, but just the stigma that the church places on people who have been incarcerated. There is not a welcoming atmosphere when it comes to the Christian community in Charlotte. And if there is, then I feel like a lot of the faith community, they're afraid to stand up and speak out in support of formerly incarcerated people, mostly due to the stigma that that is attached. When you talk about people who are coming from the carceral system, a lot of the stigma is that we are violent, that we are not to be trusted, that we have not changed, and so forth and so on, no matter what brought you to that situation. And I feel that a lot of, and women in particular, situations have come from some other type of trauma that perpetrated behaviors that brought them to prison. So I would like the faith community to know that in order to continue healing from those things, and in order to continue rehabilitating from those things, there needs to be an atmosphere of love and acceptance and understanding and non-judgment when it comes to, we should be able to come out. Charlotte is big, and join a church and not feel as if we are a specimen or a special project, or beholden to someone, or a charity case. You know, the faith community, they can help with things as simple as employment in the church. You know, I understand, some things may or may not be able to go in, but you have individuals in the church who work at other corporations and businesses. You know, that's part of the basis of church love and helping us succeed. So I really think that, like, I could go on and on with how that can spread, just not just from a place of worship, but spread to employment and housing and all the other things that we were beginning to talk about. The church has a big say so politically. They have a big say so. Socially, they have a big say so. If it was anything else, you would be, in the street and on the TV and everything else saying why this should or should not happen. Why not for incarcerated individuals returning to the society in which you are growing? You know, I'm sorry, did I get off?
No, no, you are getting us started. You're getting us going. That's so good. That's so good. Kim, would you introduce yourself?
My name is Kim, and I am a formerly incarcerated individual. I live here in Charlotte. I'm part of Change Choices. Been part of Change Choices since 2014. And this conversation is important to me to make others aware of the mass incarceration and the impact it has on our society, the impact it has on just families, children, the generational curse that the mass incarceration just holds over everything, over everyone, really. That even though you may not want to see it, it affects everyone. Whether you know someone who's been to prison, whether you have a family member who's been to prison, whether your neighbor, however, it affects everyone, whether we see it or not. And just need to be aware of how we can stand in solidarity with individuals who have been in prison, with individuals who have come out of prison, and with families who have people that are in prison. I mean, there's so many different ways that we can help individuals in and outside of prison. Even there's just, I would like to see ways that we can help children before they get to prison. This is just, we can build a bridge to help children not get to this place. Help individuals before it even gets to too late. But yeah, I just like to just be more aware. And like for me, that the biggest issue that when I came home was finding housing. I got turned down for 2 apartments before I found this one. Yeah, that's a big issue coming out of it's just being able to find a place. Because I feel that if I've done my time, I shouldn't. Individuals should not have to go to fill out an apartment and have that felony holding over them where they can't get a place to live. That's to me, it's really unacceptable. And you're still holding me to the crime that I did. I've already done the time for. I have done the steps to change, and that's something that is that really needs I feel like needs to change. Because if you've done your time, why be punished by not being able to put a roof over your head for and still be held accountable something for that you've already done the time for? Yeah, just that's probably like one of the hard that was very discouraging for me was being turned down because of my felony. So I would like to see ways that can be fixed, and just and being able to help individuals through mental health. There's so many issues. It's just a wide span of things of how I could go talk about this. Talk about the mass incarceration. I don't want to get off track. I'm sorry, but
No, you're not. You're not at all. No, you're not at all. And you're leading us right in. And, my first question was, what are some of the main barriers and difficulties that folks face who are reentering or preparing to reenter? And, I was thinking the way I asked it was immediate, those like first few weeks, because that's got its own picture. And then midterm, like the first year, and then long term. And thinking holistically, which you all have already said, because we're whole beings, right? You've got material, you've got practical, you've got familial, emotional, mental health, spiritual, communal, all these things, there can be barriers. So you mentioned housing, Kim. What are some of the other difficulties? And we also, Shahida, you mentioned stigma, which I think is another huge one. That gets at the more like the internal, how you feel about yourself, how you're made to feel, how other people feel about you, and that kind of messaging you get from. So what are some of the other ones that you can that really stand out?
well, I've been thinking about this for a little while, but the what is it? The Affordable Housing Act is great, but when you think about the big picture of that for not just for incarcerated people, but people as a whole. So say if I get a job and I'm trying to better myself and I keep moving up and moving up in my role in my job and I get paid more, then you know what that's going to mean? I'm going to get pushed out of my apartment because I'm making too much money. And then with so many people putting that stigma on my felon, okay, well, we can't rent to you, you're a felon. But I make too much money to live over here, and I can't live over here because I'm a felon. Where am I supposed to go? That's something that's like kind of because I am moving up in my job, and I'm afraid that when I come to renew my lease, they're going to say you make too much money to live
And
here.
you know what that makes me think about though?
What?
How as an incarcerated person, how we limit ourselves. So what
Yeah.
I'm hearing you say is, okay, I'm in this apartment. If I make too much, I won't be able to rent here.
Right.
Why should our mindsets be on renting? Why can't we aspire to own homes? Why
You're right.
can't we aspire? Why are we limited to, okay, I'm not even thinking about, am I going to be able to make a high enough income to afford housing in Charlotte, and not just a matchbox house, not a
Right.
mansion, but why
Right.
can't I live comfortably somewhere where I can have my family come? Why do I have to limit my mind to where I can or can't rent? Because one thing about it, when your money is buying a house, your felony don't have anything to do with it,
Right.
you know? So, but you see how easy that is? You say, well, I'm gonna get pushed out of this, then where I'm gonna rent? Not, well, am I gonna make enough money to be able to uh apply for a mortgage loan and buy my house? You
Yeah.
know? Like, and
Yeah.
that's just how we have been conditioned to not think, not even how to think, but not don't even go that far.
Right.
That needs to change.
Mm-hmm.
I helped find uh, a home rental agency for someone who was looking for a house to rent,
Mm-hmm.
and they were excited. Couldn't get a call back. Like, what's wrong? Income, the debt ratio was on point. No bad rental histories ever. Like, everything was on point in Charlotte. Both organizations, because they had a felony from 1997.
Mm-hmm.
1997. So I want to give a shout out to Invitation Homes, because yes, they have a limit, anything under 7 years, then they have to look twice at it, but they can still work with you. They have attorney set to the side for situations like that to review. Like, but after 7 years, they don't care. But what I see is a oxymoron, not necessarily with them, is that there may be other organizations that looks like that, but that leaves room for predatory renting, these exacerbated rental prices for homes, when you're looking at what homes go for rent in this area, and then you see an organization charging this much, you're like, whoa, but still, that's another thing, renting
Yeah.
versus buying. Why are we limited to renting?
Right. Yeah, I do want to look into a first time home buyer.
Yeah.
Point. Yeah.
Well, and I think about so many ways that, for example, churches and faith communities can be involved in that, because, one of the things that I often say is everything is a relationship, right? Nothing is only a thing. So, so many people find their housing or get connected to jobs or get, and even begin to heal or think differently about themselves and more in a more liberated, true way that's based on who we truly are in the eyes of God. We do that through relationship mostly,
Right.
and I think that's really key. And I agree with you totally about moving towards ownership, where you aren't at the mercy of someone who's going to say, oh, looks, oh, you make too much money, can't rent to you. Oh, nowhere else going to rent to you, because of the ways we keep incarcerating people after they're
Mhm.
released, because that's what we
Mhm.
do. We keep punishing people. Um, so I think that, my desires, I'm thinking, where are those places in our community that are that sanctuary, that should be that haven for people, that are creating alternate spaces that is not based on this continuing carceral way of being. And that's
Right.
where I think, come on, church, come on, faith communities. This is what we're all about.
Mhm.
So, let me pause there and ask this question, because this week is called Locked in Solidarity. What does that word mean to you? Solidarity.
That we are on the same level. When,
Mhm.
when you were saying that, and I was reading a little bit on kinship plot
Mhm.
before I got on, and one of my favorite saying is by this lady named Lila Watson, and she said, uh, "If you have come to help me, you are wasting your time. But if you have come because your liberation is bound up with mine, then let us work together." That's what that meant to me. You know, you have to get over, like I said, we are just charity cases. Everything, uh, mass incarceration is mass release. We're coming out. We're coming
Mhm.
out. We're going to be your next door neighbors. We're going to be in your church. We're going to be in your grocery store. We're we're here. Why? Why are we separated? by a title, by something as simple as language. We are people. That's
Right.
it. Children of God, people. That's it. I just happen to live somewhere different than you did.
Mhm.
You know, I think you're getting at something so crucial because, you know, one of the things I heard a lot about in, you know, in jails and prisons was people are like, you know, the Christians come to us, you know, do Bible studies and things here. Where are they when we get out? And the stats show this about numbers of volunteers and people kind of feeling willing to be somewhere where it feels safe, you know?
Mhm.
But then to your point, Shahida, is that like some churches then create these like, oh, a prison ministry or a reentry ministry. Kind of, it continues that separation. It's like
Mhm.
y'all be over there
Mhm.
rather than what, because my question isn't so much what do people need to do, you know, who are formerly recently incarcerated. I'm saying, what do we need to do?
Right.
What changes need to happen in our communities so that people are not just in reentry, they're reintegrated, they are you know, reconnected, because that's the work we need to do. And so, you know, that whole, I was looking at those stats about people like the number of Christian ministries and organizations that go into jails and prisons. Now, what happens out here? You know, what happens out here when we punish just as much, you know? So,
Yeah, I just would like to see more action. You know, there are so many conversations being had, and honestly, Stephanie, I'm getting tired of conversations.
Hmm.
I might talk a lot like when I'm amped up about something, but I'm a doer, you know, and I would like to see some doing. And it doesn't take you not helping 5,000 people get employment and housing and stuff. That would be nice. But it's one church at a time, you know, just one church at a time. If one church sets the precedent, you know, it's kind of like being in high school. Churches are kind of like high schools, you know. You if if you getting good coverage for what you're doing, however, you know, even though we saying we don't want to be a charity case, but however it gets done, let it get done. But if one church is doing it and they getting a good feedback from it, you know, other ones will start doing. But somebody has to take the lead. One person, one pastor. With these pastors preaching sermons every Sunday morning and Wednesday afternoon and whenever, let's talk about the real issues going on. You know, let's talk about something that is really relevant. You know, a lot of churches, they were scared to talk about the Black Lives Matter movement and people getting shot down in the street. Well, the fact of the matter is everybody gets shot down in the street, but you don't want to talk about that. You know, a lot of churches didn't. So let's do more than talk about this. Put it out there in your congregation. Congregants, take it to your pastor. If it's on your heart, don't be afraid to bring it to the pastor. Talk amongst the elders or the deacons and the first ladies or whomever else. You know, you don't have to wait on the leader to lead you down that path. You can do it on your own.
that's it. Yeah. Kim, what does solidarity mean to you?
Standing in agreement, walking alongside, and yeah, just being there. Just what was the other word to say? What am I gonna say? What is it? I had sorry.
Take your time.
Yeah, just dang, now I got all nervous.
You and me
Don't be
both.
nervous. It's just
No,
us.
you know, it's almost like a felt thing too. Like, you know, right? When someone's in solidarity with you. And I love that difference between charity and solidarity, because we all know when someone's approaching us
Just
with that attitude versus
Mhm.
like the quote that you said, Shahida, that's so good. When someone is saying, it's not just that I'm doing this because it's a good thing, or this is a charity case. This is because my own liberation is tied to this, because I see myself connected to you, and I see how this is part of our whole community, and there is no separation. Like this is we are entangled together, even with all the forces that threaten to separate us. And it's a felt thing, isn't it? It's felt. It's kind of hard to put words to it.
And that's what I was thinking about when the solidarity, like when I think about our Zoom meeting with the ladies at the Charlotte County Jail. It's not, I feel for those ladies because I've been in their seats. So it's like I'm in that group with them. It's just as if I'm in their county jail with them.
Right.
It just feels like it just is so fulfilling to me. That's why I can't wait to get back to doing it when they do open that back up. But yeah, just being there for them ladies and hearing their stories and being able to share my story with them, and it to shed some light into their hearts. It's very amazing. And that's what solidarity feels like to me.
Yeah, you got it. And I told this to you, Kim, but I could talk for an hour and they kind of listen to me, and then in 3 seconds you say something and they're like, that's the truth. Because you speak their language, and you have been there. And so this is why we need each other. And as soon as we get back, what we're talking about for the listeners is that Kim's been helping teach some of the classes at the Mecklenburg County Jail in the programs, and she's just phenomenal. They ask about you every moment. Where's Miss Kim? When's Miss Kim coming? When's Miss Kim coming?
I know, that's right. I'm so proud of you, Kim. Like, that makes me feel good that you're giving back.
Yeah, that's
I love that. I love it. Yes. Thank you.
You're welcome. Once you come home in 7 months, there's GTL too. That's an amazing thing. I've been texting back and forth with the ladies at Noose.
Okay.
Tyson, Crystal, Bowman, all the ladies. So that's another good thing too.
Okay.
Just the way more solidarity is,
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Don't forget, right? Don't forget. Because that's the thing is the rest of society wants to out of sight, out of mind. I love that.
Yeah.
So I'm looking at my list of questions here. Okay. What would you say? We've spoken a lot and said some things to like faith communities, church communities. What about elected officials? What about people with the power? What do you got to say?
So go ahead, Kim. I'm let you.
I think that they would sweep the mass incarceration under the rug because it makes them so much money. So why do they want to stop something that makes so much money? So that's just how I feel. I feel that they don't want an end to it. It's just how they I can go on about this too. How they started the war on drugs when they were putting the drugs out there to be sold so they can lock people up, and that's how all this started, to my belief. But I think it's how this mass incarceration started from the war on drugs, and it just kept getting bigger and bigger. Oh, we're making money on locking people up and keep it. Let's just keep it. They don't want to end that. That's just, to me, they just don't want to end it. I mean, I could be just how I feel.
You are correct. You are correct. There's a lot of history, a lot of research that backs up what you said. So, we'll get into that in our next episode, right, ladies? All right, Shahida, what do you have to say?
So I'm going to get to how much it costs to incarcerate a person. Okay, now my numbers might be about a decade old because the last research I did was in 2011. But with those numbers, I was incarcerated, given a 16-year, 8-month to 21-year, 4-month sentence for a financial crime that netted less than $500. Thus far, the state of North Carolina has spent over $500,000 on my incarceration. That's not including medical costs, and that's not including the cost of my education, because I've gotten everything that you had to offer. That's not including the cost of my youngest child being in foster care for 6 years. That's not including the cost of her aging out of foster care and continuing to be in the 18 to 21 program. So my thing is this: when you have a judicial system that does not take into account the future repercussions of the decisions that you're going to make, there's something wrong there. I was 26 at High Point University and had a job in a small law office. And the state decided it was in my best interest and the best interest of my 3 children if I spent that much time. Didn't have a long criminal history, 3 felonies spanning 2 years when I was 18 and 20. So at 26, you sent me away for 16 to 21 years. Those decisions are made every day in North Carolina. Men, women, the effects, it's a ripple effect for everyone. So now there are lots of system impacted people who are not me being affected, and the citizens of North Carolina are paying taxes to keep me incarcerated, paying taxes for foster care, paying taxes for whatever else the ripple effect. So instead, you can make other diversion programs, because if it wasn't for the fact that a lot of people had underlying mental wellness or health issues that needed to be addressed, and drug use situations going on, you took away the Dorothy Dix or whatever other drug program, mental health programs it was. If it wasn't for those 2 demographics inside the penal system, there would scarcely be a need for as large of a network of prisons that we have in North Carolina. So elected officials, you need to start addressing the underlying causes. It's this war on opiates. Oh, let's give them second and third and fourth chance. That's because now your children being affected because of the pills and the heroin and whatever else. Now your children and your families are being affected by mental wellness or mental illness or not addressing mental health. Every time you change legislative laws or general statutes, you never apply them retroactively except for federal inmates. Why is that? Mass incarceration is in your federal system and your state system. So what's the difference? Someone needs, again, stop being afraid to stand up for what is right. Stop. Why you are elected officials if you're not going to be brave enough to do what is right? Money is always involved somewhere. We need this bill. I want this. I want that. But you have thousands of people right here in the system. We are people. And mass incarceration is ruining lives, not just ours, especially women. We come in as the people taking care of children, and we go out still expected to take care of children and grandchildren and aging parents. But how are we going to do it when we have all these other barriers set against us? Housing, employment, can't even be comfortable in church to get your soul feeling good. But you all still expect us to come out and be productive, rehabilitated citizens, taking care of our elderly parents and the grandchildren and the children that we left. And don't say, well, why should you be left to do that? They should have been doing that while you were gone. It's the ripple effect.
Right.
You didn't just lock me up. You locked up intricate parts of support systems every time you sentenced somebody to absolutely unnecessary prison time when you could have invested money elsewhere. I'm gonna get off that soapbox.
Oh no, it's good. Stay on it. You're gonna write a book or you're gonna go on a speaking tour in 7 months, aren't you? It's good. I mean, here's what's interesting is, and it's kind of this piece that pains me to say this, but when I would speak to groups about mass incarceration and I would mention how much it costs to lock people up, and the eyes get big because now people are saying, oh, that's my tax dollars, right?
Yeah.
And unfortunately, that the reason that pains me is because sometimes it can feel like that speaks louder than just what you just said, which is these are people and communities and families and their lives. But it's also both and. We've created this system that we can't seem to get out of until people start actually making decisions that are going to really impact. But you know, it's amazing how many people don't realize the sheer cost, you know, the sheer cost that not just, and I would like to focus on the cost of lives to communities, to children. But you start talking dollars and cents, and sometimes that wakes some people up because, you know, you think about the investment that could be made in so many other things, like everything we were talking about prevention. So yeah, okay. We're going to have to keep doing this because we got so much more to talk about, but I want to keep these somewhat bite-sized so people feel like they can listen and then, you know, but let's end with this. And I do not mean to sugarcoat or anything, but I know that each of you has something that is giving you some hope and keeping and is helping you keep going. So talk about that. Where do you see, you know, hope can be kind of I don't mean that to like discount everything, but talk about, you know, we learn on yes, a lot of us do, right? So where are the yeses that you're seeing, that you're hearing, whether internally in your communities? Where are you getting encouragement? What do you see that encourages you?
Well, I mean, I guess for me, what the encouragement was, it really wasn't hard getting a job when I came out. Finding a job was pretty easy. So that and I talk to people who are actually yearning to come out. I was like, it's really not too hard to find a job here in Charlotte. That is a good thing. But you know, just so I know that was not an easy thing to do before. That used to be hard for a felon to get a job, but I do believe that has gotten better over time. So I believe that in that being said, that I have a belief that the housing will one day be in the same spot as it is finding a job. Because it really is easy to get a job here. So that does give me hope. Yeah, just the housing situation will get better. So yeah, so I can really thinking about it now. Yes, I shouldn't like worry when my lease does come up. You know, even if I do make too much money, I have lean on that hope that the housing will get better.
My encouragement, I think it's twofold, two events, but I'm with you, Kim. You know, being that I'm currently incarcerated, I didn't get a job based on the contract. I went out and got my own job, and I can say that although the people who interviewed me and the people that I work for and with are not of the faith-based community. This generation of people who are in charge these days, they are more mindful and socially conscious and aware. And I'm blessed to work with and for people who are in that mindset. So that is, even though I feel like money kind of smears things sometimes, people who are financially affluent these days, they seem to be more mindful about their contributions to the world at large than the faith communities right now. So that gives me hope. And two, in the academic arena, it's being more open to people who have the lived experience of being incarcerated. I happen to be involved with a couple of organizations on that front, and will be excited when it's my turn to get out and really be involved. But they give me hope, just being able to know college professors, elite college professors who have that experience, and not just from back in the day when it was no mass incarceration and you could, fly under the radar. We're talking about scientists. We're talking about they're bringing STEM into the prisons, not in North Carolina, of course, but North Carolina, we'll get there, So just what I envision for ladies in the carceral system in North Carolina, I want to do something about it. I want to make some changes, and I know that with the people out there, there is support and the people who are unafraid to speak. That gives me hope.
Yeah.
I think that's so good. There is, if you look, you're going to find people. You're going to find co-laborers. You're going to find, people who are standing and living and working in solidarity across the spectrum, like you said. And so I'm glad. So, that's maybe one of the things to leave everybody with is, keep your eyes open, keep your ear to the ground, and look, because sometimes it's the people who are doing things and not, kind of doing it under the radar quietly, and that don't get a lot of airtime, but y'all are going places, both of you. So it's such a gift to know you. You're already places.
I'm serious. Like that inspires me, really, Kim. Like I didn't even know that you were doing that. And like, I'm just sitting here, I keep thinking about it, and it's such an inspiration. Really.
Yeah. Maybe we can do it one day when you get out.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Sure.
Well, this has been a real gift, ladies. Let's do it again. There's a lot to talk about.
There is.
I'm so grateful that you gave your time and your thoughts, and I know there's a lot more than where that came from. So I just want to send a blessing to you. Sometimes these little squares can seem like we're different places, but I can sense our connection to each other. So until we meet again, and a thank you to everyone who's listened. Who knows how many hundreds, thousands.
All right.
And what fruit will come from this, even just in encouraging a different way of thinking and listening and noticing. So any last words?
Thank you for having us on.
That's what I want to say. Thank you. Thank you for allowing me to join you all in this important conversation. And I hope to be able to go back and forth with you again in the future. Like, this is very exciting for me. And I just hope we put it out there and changes come, you know?
That's it. That's it.
Yes.
Amen.